Hey, Dom.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, we're pushing 10 tonight.
Yeah, we are pushing 10. So, for those of you who haven't seen it, because I had never seen this movie before.
Oh, you hadn't? Okay.
No, if you hadn't
Cool.
suggested it, there was no reason why I would have seen this movie.
Right, right.
But
Well,
this is a
uh,
1999 film with an all-star cast.
yes.
Billy Bob Thornton, John Cusack, Kate Blanchett, Angelique Jolie, just to name the top four.
Yeah, yeah,
It follows the life of an air traffic controller at New York's busiest air traffic tower.
yeah, yeah.
When we start the movie, he's basically the big man on campus. He's the guy that always has a
The
cool
cool,
head,
the cool
takes
man.
care of everything. And then this other hotshot air traffic controller comes in and starts outshining him,
Yeah,
and it gets under his skin, and hence the movie happens.
yeah. Yeah, it's suddenly there's a new sheriff in town. The Billy Bob Thornton is the rock star coming in on a motorcycle, which he promptly
Okay,
put on.
if you've never seen this, for those of you watching, if you've never seen this before, if you enjoy flying, do not see this movie.
Yeah, seriously.
Nothing made me want to never fly again more than this movie. And
Yeah,
I've seen zombies on a plane.
yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, it's actually you're absolutely correct. And to tell you the truth, one of the things that being older, one of the things that I remember was when there was a real, I mean, we're actually in this country right now today, if anybody wants a stressful job that probably pays pretty well, become an air traffic controller because there's a huge shortage in this country right now. And back a number of years ago before this was made, probably right around the time this was made, there was a lot of stuff in the news about air traffic controllers. And that's probably why they did this. But they were considered to be like one of the most stressful jobs, high suicide rate, and they are also not getting paid what they thought they were worth. And they were going on strike, and there was a lot of there was a government effort to make them go back to work.
Yeah, then Ronald Reagan came along.
Yes, and he put them back to work at gunpoint. So
Basically.
yeah, but I mean, believe me, that it's one place where if you want to go to work there, you're talking stress. And
Although I gotta wonder how much AI is doing the heavy lifting these days.
you're probably right that it's probably taken over a lot. I would hope because computers should have made it a little easier, and also I would hope that some. Although every once in a while I hear about a near miss with an airport, and it's
Mhm.
scary. And if you watch these guys in action, you can see why that might happen because there's a lot of distraction going on. And if you don't have your game going on a given day, it's like having a bad anesthesiologist. You
Yeah,
might
I,
not
I
wake
was
up.
watching this movie and going, did Amtrak sponsor this?
Yeah, yeah, to get people to go by train.
Don't
Uh,
fly.
yeah, yeah, no, it's very, it's actually very, very stressful if you're flying. Uh, so yeah, as far as the movie goes, this was my pick. One of the reasons why I picked it, there's another movie that also has the name Tin in it, and I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but it's
I can think of a few movies with the
yeah.
word tin in it.
Well, what's the one that you think coincides with this one? Because
No, I know Tin Badge, Tin Drum, Tin Cup.
yeah, no, Danny DeVito. Come on, I'm giving you a trivia question here. Danny DeVito
Let's
and
throw
and
Mama from the
and
tin.
Richard Dreyfuss. Barbara Hershey is in it too, I believe.
No, I'm not. I'm blanking.
Yeah, Tin Men, and
Okay,
yep, Tin Men, and it's yeah, I don't know. Have you seen Tin Men?
I have not seen Tin
Okay,
Man.
cool. Well, I'm gonna put that on my list. But Tin Men is about guys selling aluminum siding, and it's the same deal. Um,
Okay,
all of
okay,
us,
let's save it for when we do
yes,
that movie. Let's
okay, yeah, but no, it's
people tuned in to hear about Pushing Tin.
sure. but it's a rivalry movie, and that's the reason I bring it up. But and it does have the name too. But no, that's the whole point with this one. Billy Bob Thornton comes in, beautiful wife. It's a younger Angelina Jolie, and I mean, her lips are one of the big stars of this movie. But there's so many funny aspects of, and it's, there's a few things that I was going to ask you if you thought the same thing. But so there's Angelina Jolie at the party, and as soon as everybody sees, oh my God, Billy Bob Thornton's got this woman for his wife, all the men are at attention looking at her. All the wives look and go, oh my God, this woman's a threat. And so, yeah, like I said, I was wondering if with these two, what they were doing, because Billy Bob Thornton is obviously pushing his buttons. And I mean, he's pretty easy to have his buttons pushed.
I could not figure out why John Cusack's character was so bothered. I cannot figure out. Here's some guy that's going to take a fair chunk of the work and do a good job. Hallelujah.
Yeah, but he was, there were a couple of things going on with him. I don't know if you had noticed early on in the movie when he was driving home from work the first day when you're watching it, and he drives into the wrong house. He lives in it. Now, granted, it's one of those suburban neighborhoods. A lot of the houses look alike, but he drives into the wrong house. And you're thinking to yourself, this guy's an air traffic controller and he doesn't know where his own house is. But
we've all known people that are experts in their field and completely clueless in others.
Oh, absolutely. And again, the house is there. It is right there. Look at his house compared to the house next door. It can happen. But and probably there's such a deceleration after being so stressed at work. I know even in my own job, and it's not that stressful. There's days that are more stressful, and when I get home, I'm like, phew, and all of a sudden your brain goes out the window. But I was wondering too if they weren't. I mean, because yeah, he's letting the guy push his buttons. He wants to be the hot shot. He wants to be the cool guy. Billy Bob Thornton is obviously the new cool guy on the block and has the hot wife. But if you look at what like Angelina Jolie is doing and what he's doing, it was almost like they were playing a little game with everybody, because she's kind of like playing around, flirting with him, and to the point where
I mean, let's face it, half the time we see her, she's either crying or drunk. I did not see her being flirtatious or seductive in any way.
Well, the scene at the supermarket, I almost felt like when they actually like kind of really hook up, or start to hook up, she's having a bad day. But like I kind of got the opinion that maybe she wasn't, just like playing him a little bit. I mean, she played him at the barbecue too. They were flirting,
and I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing her being meeting someone for the first time, being nice and friendly.
Yeah, yeah. I like I said,
There was no innuendo, no close physical contact. Like, if this guy perceived that as flirtation or seduction, I mean, I don't know what he's used to.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just kind of got the feeling that they weren't. And then they sleep together one time, and he's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. He's pulling away, and she immediately tells him, yeah, I told my husband. And it's like, really? Why would you do that? And so, like I said, I almost felt like there was a little bit of a game going on with the two of them.
And here's one of my issues
Yeah.
with the movie. Was there a game going on? Were they playing each other? We don't know. And the reason we don't know is because these are not well fleshed out characters.
Well, I don't know.
We don't know how these people met their wives.
Yeah.
We don't know what they love. This guy, Cusack's character, has a kid.
Yeah.
And we don't know anything about the kid.
Yeah, you hardly ever see that kid.
We see so little involvement. Billy Bob Thornton, like, what drives him?
Yeah.
Is he concerned
Way
about
back.
his wife's alcohol use?
Yeah.
I mean, these two, it's a very straightforward movie.
I think to tell you the truth, I think what drive it is a straightforward movie, but I think what drives both Cusack and Billy Bob Thornton is the thrill, the rush. They take on more planes than anyone else. When somebody else is a little bit overloaded, they go, "Hey, can you take this plane?" And they're like, "Yep, I got it." And they're they're pushing things real close sometimes, pushing one plane in after another, and they thrive on the excitement and the thrill of being able to do more at their job and better than everybody
I don't
else.
know, like if I was an adrenaline junkie,
Yeah.
I would not become an air traffic controller because
Well,
that sounds like a job that's going to be extremely boring 90% of the time.
yeah. Well, to tell you the truth, it probably in real life, it probably really, well, I don't know about boring, but I think it's probably stressful. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to do it. Like I was thinking to myself, would I train? Because I actually, from what I've read about, the training to get to be an air traffic controller is
Mhm.
so damn stressful. They're like the people who are training you are yelling at you. It's kind of like when you become a cop, the way the introduction you have with when they are trying to stress you to see whether you can handle stress on the job, and they are all over you when you take those
Which,
initial
by the
tests.
way,
Yeah.
both Billy Bob Thornton and John Cusack did spend some time at an air traffic controller school
Oh, really? Did they?
to
Yeah.
learn their roles.
I mean, I'm not surprised. It's good good training for the role. But
Mhm.
did you read anything about what the how they felt about the job
No, no,
itself?
did not read how they felt.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long they were in the
Yeah.
classes.
Well, with Billy Bob Thornton, I don't know how richly Cusack researches his, but Billy Bob Thornton tends to be pretty pretty adept at figuring out whatever he's doing and doing it really well and going to not quite to the extremes of someone like a Heath Ledger, but still, um, he still seems to really put all his effort at it. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. I got a lot of amusement out of this movie. I thought it
Yeah,
was
I did not see this being a comedy in any way.
really,
Nothing was at the very start of the movie, they make fun of a PTSD victim.
yeah. That's but
I
there,
mean, and they seem to laugh at it. They seem to find amusement
yeah.
at this guy's severe anxiety, like life crippling
Oh,
anxiety.
their whole thing. But it seems to be some professions um, have a very macabre humor about not only their work but their fellow workers.
There's one
We
thing about being like I've been in a job with macabre humor.
Yes. Oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
don't
Yeah,
punch down.
yeah, yeah. It's well, to tell you the truth, like I said, just the job that I work at, um, it's I don't know. Like I said, and maybe it's because I've been working at this job as long as I have, and I never thought I'd work at this job, but believe me, but like there's a lot of, and I don't think it's necessarily like maybe my place, the place where I work is a little different than a lot of, and I'm not going to say where I work, but
Well, also keep in mind your coworkers are watching
that's
this.
true. That's true. Although they know what I'm talking about, they know exactly what I'm talking about. The place I work at is a lot more like, or at least it was. It's changing a little bit, but but believe me, the hard raw humor, you really had to have a thick skin for all the years I worked at it. I mean, you had to have a thick skin. But this place seems to be the same thing. They are betting on each other, like whether or not someone's gonna fail at the or when they're gonna fail. It's a real rough crowd, and they're definitely adrenaline junkies. This scene right here with Billy Bob Thornton and Cusack is trying to see if he can't get to this guy, and he's driving his car real fast in and out of traffic, doing some real crazy shit. And Billy Bob Thornton is just like sitting there relaxed, like he doesn't have a care in the world. But they're trying to get at each other, And why would this guy with a good marriage try to seduce Billy Bob Thornton's wife? Uh, he, it's obviously that he's trying to get to him, and
I mean,
whatever.
basically, John Cusack's character needs therapy.
Yeah,
That's all I can say. He is in desperate need of therapy.
yeah, because there's his wife, Kate Blanchett, beautiful woman. They seem to have a good marriage, pretty solid marriage. They say, and then he goes and does something completely stupid, out of step with what's going on. And but again, like I said, I noticed a few chinks in the armor before Billy Bob Thornton even got there, and then once Billy Bob Thornton was there, that was all he needed to crack, And yeah, and there's Billy Bob Thornton actually playing with him because he immediately offers to loan her some French tapes, and he's just putting the little hint of doubt in his
He
mind.
this might have been entirely innocent. And let's face it, Billy Bob Thornton's character is presented as a very level-headed, almost spiritual at times. We see him fly fishing later,
Yeah,
later in
yeah.
the movie. He could be totally innocent. He could just be trying to be nice as
Well,
well.
I don't think he is because even when he was fly fishing and John Cusack comes, because at that point John Cusack's totally screwed up his life. He's lost his wife, and everything's in ashes. He can't even sit in front of the scope anymore. Now he's he had two near misses on the job, and he's been told, you better take some time off, buddy. So he goes to see Billy Bob Thornton, and Billy Bob Thornton says, listen, I did mess with you too. So he actually admits it in that scene, that he said, I was playing with you. So he goes, I'm going to help you because I did play I did play with you. So I do believe it kind of, and maybe because he does have that whole, the way he was practicing meditation and different spiritual, healing. I think that was part of the thing of, like, even the way he chose to deal with with Cusack cheating with his wife. He goes, it's okay, like, just don't worry about it. It's all. And then of course he flirts with his wife a little bit. It wasn't real flirtatious, but it was a little. And he sat there smiling when Cusack is standing there like, what are you guys talking about? Right away he's nervous because now he's thinking, now he's going to get me back. And that planted the suspicion in his mind and made him go nuts. so, so
So
but
that guy right above your head in
yeah.
that
Oh,
image.
sorry, I just
Yep, yep.
right there.
I thought you chose this movie as part of a Jack Weber Film Festival,
No, I did not.
given that we had just got done seeing him in Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, yep, yeah. No, I didn't, but still, the usual suspects tend to show tend to show up. And I mean, like I said, I don't know what you thought of the film. I do like this movie. I I get the
I thought this movie was mid.
Yeah.
That's the best. I mean, if you want a one-line description of this film, this is a 2-hour dick measuring contest.
It is. Oh, it absolutely.
It's exactly what it is.
That's a good way to describe it. It absolutely is. I mean, even the there's only one female air traffic controller that I remember seeing in this movie,
Yeah.
and she's playing the game too, and she's doing the same bullshit that they're all doing. But I've definitely seen professions where this kind of stuff goes on, and believe me,
I have two. They are not the best of their profession. If
No.
you're that unconfident
Yeah.
that you got to pull that, then you're not very good at your job.
But you know something, the scary part is, especially around this time, I think there were a lot of air traffic because at the time there was a lot of publicity around this, that a lot of people were washing out or they were having real problems. The suicide rate was extremely high at that time. I don't know if it's remained that way. And I know there's other dentists, for some strange reasons, have like one of the highest. It's like, really? You dislike your job
Yeah,
that
I
much?
can't figure that out.
Yeah, I can't either, but but yeah, for some reason.
for anyone that's interested in learning more, this movie is based on and was inspired by a New York Times article
Yeah,
that was printed in 1996 titled Something's Got to Give.
right, right. And I actually, I can't specifically remember reading that particular article, but I read a lot at that around that time of, like the problems with air traffic controllers. It was all over the news. And it was definitely, at a time that, like, I was young, and but I remember reading about it and I was like, wow, this sounds like a job I would not want to do. And, and especially since they weren't getting paid what they needed to. So yeah, it just seemed like a job that was overstressed, underpaid, and you're overworked. And why would you want to work a job like that? But again, I think that's all changed. I think they're getting paid much better. So,
Now, one of the high points of this movie, the Twin Towers.
oh yeah, something that's when you bring that up, the Twin Towers is all over this movie. And it
Yeah,
actually made me like really kind of sad seeing it again. I
it's
was
been
like,
so long.
yeah. And the other thing is seeing planes flying around. And I was thinking to myself, my God, it's like after 9/11, seeing the towers in that movie, it's kind of painful. That's one reason maybe not to revisit the movie, but again, like I said, I like the movie myself, but I like the dark, macabre humor. Um,
So one of the best things I can say about it, fantastically acted.
yes, yeah,
These actors shine. It is literally an all-star cast, and why they took these roles is beyond my understanding.
I see. I think they were having a lot of fun with it. I mean, there they are behind me in kind of like an off camera uh, kind of scene there, and they're just laughing and joking. But although Cusack looks pretty serious, but I think they were having a lot of fun. Billy Bob Thornton is a freaking superstar in my book. He's funny. He can act the shit out of a film. He's so good. And I mean, Cusack, believe me, I love his work too. But Billy Bob Thornton in so many movies, he kind of steals the entire movie. Um, Now, was this the movie where where Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie first met, or
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Because
This is they met on the during the filming of this movie.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, they were both a little bit younger in this, and
A
they
little bit.
well, yeah. Well, she was a lot younger, but um,
She
but
almost looks
yeah,
like a teenager in some scenes.
she does. Although I think she was she mid-20s or
I think
but
so. I think she was
yeah,
24, 25.
yeah. But and she's still thin in this, but she's not anywhere near. She is so thin now, and I'm not trying to do any body shaming or anything like that, but it was nice seeing her with a little bit more weight on her because I mean I think she's kind of like gone a little bit too far with the
Yeah,
weight
the
loss.
last movie I saw her in is Wanted,
Yeah, but I
which
mean,
was a long time ago.
but these two had an obsessive. I mean, what were they wearing? Vials of each other's blood. They each had a tattoo of each other's name on their arm. Well, I think it was her, but it was on her
Other
arm. But
than knowing that they were briefly married, I
yeah,
honestly do not follow anything about
yeah.
celebrities.
Well, they were all over. It was all over the that they probably set a smudge that might have been the Billy Bob tattoo. I can't remember,
Well, if that's
where
at the
it's.
movie, she wouldn't have gotten the tattoo yet.
Um,
If that was in
yeah.
pushing,
Well, I think she already had probably had some tattoos anyway. Whether or not it looked like it was smudged out anyway. And
it really did. It was odd.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Now, one of the things, um, there were a couple of things that I thought were like absolutely nuts and crazy and unrealistic. One of them
So many
was,
things.
well, yeah, there were yeah, a few, but one of them for sure was the whole thing with the planes. and standing out on the runway, because Billy Bob Thornton had done it previously. And then he tells Cusack, if you want to get your mojo back, if you want to rebuild your life, you got to do this. And he makes him stand out, and he stands with him, which is nice. But
So that was such a part of the movie that I had to research that.
yeah,
And oh my God, they
yeah,
got, like, for one thing, what Billy Bob Thornton, what his character described it as wake turbulence.
yeah, yeah,
So it's the turbulence of the air currents in the wake of a large plane. And
huh.
while that can be dangerous to other planes flying near that plane, it does not have a force to pick someone up off the ground and throw them around.
No, although I did hear there was a there's an airport, and it's, I don't know where it is, some like the Bahamas or something like that, and the planes fly low right over the beach.
Mhm.
I mean, really low, really low. And apparently there's a spot where people can stand near, why they allow them to even get that close. But there was a woman who got, and people, there's all kinds of signs, don't stand too close to the fence. And there was a woman who got right up on the fence. She was apparently fairly light, and this plane was either taking off or coming in. I don't know which, but she got blown back, and she ended up, her head hit a concrete. So everybody else was just kind of like pushed, but she was light and she was ahead of them a little bit, and she went flying. And when she came down, she was like head first into a concrete, curbing or whatever it was, and she died. So, like I said, I wouldn't say it's not, but it was a little, that whole thing where they're flying through the air. It's
Well, the second thing is that, again, like I'm reading comments from
yeah,
pilots and air traffic controllers
sure,
about this movie.
right, yeah, yeah,
And they said if a plane is landing and they
yeah,
get like they're doing this in broad daylight, they would
sure,
be seen.
yeah,
They would be
yeah,
seen
yeah.
by the pilot. The pilot would abort that landing.
Yeah, he'd probably say, I got a problem. There's somebody on the, yeah. So you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're probably in most cases, they aren't even gonna, they ain't even gonna attempt to do. And, and by the way, take a good look at, this was a scene, I believe this is a still shot from, and talk about like bad special effects from the 90s to today. That's ridiculous.
I was wondering how they got that effect. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I have a feeling it was some kind of weird green screen hanging from wires.
Yep.
Who knows? But yeah, I should have looked that one up. But
No, I tried. I couldn't find anything on it.
so that was my one. That was my one thing that I kind of, it bugged me a little bit. That's okay though. I could live with that more. I'll tell you what bothered me more, and I, like, again, I love this movie, so it's not that I'm putting the movie down, but the last scene of the movie, and they had to turn it into a love story, with one of those Hollywood endings of him romancing his wife back again, and he's the air traffic controller. And this is the thing, that if it's something going to scare you about flying, if you know that they were going to allow the wife, because the pilots call her up, she's flying back in, uh, she's going to move her stuff out and move away and start a new life. And he romances her he wants to go on a date with her, and he's calling her up, and he refuses to let the plane land until he said, I'll put you guys in air. You'll be circling the runway for hours if you don't get my wife up here so I can talk to her. And so they're in a holding pattern while he tries to convince his wife to go on
I
a
mean, that's
date.
a federal offense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everybody in the room where he's working is standing behind, like, all like, oh, I hope he, I hope he gets her to agree to a date. And the pilots are all like, just date him, It's like, so that was probably the silliest moment of the movie. But I'm sure for a lot of people that are looking for a romance, that that probably made a lot of, people happy, but not
Okay,
me.
here's one of the things that annoyed me.
Yeah.
Why did they name it Pushing Tin?
I think that is an actual term
No,
for what
it's
pilots do. They're pushing 10. I
so
mean,
so again, I looked into this.
yeah,
I read a number of pilots saying they have no idea why they named it that
right.
because they've never heard anyone use that term before
Yeah.
in the aeronautics business.
Huh. Well, I mean,
The,
who knows? Was it
the
based
Urban
off a book?
Dictionary,
Yeah.
the Urban Dictionary has two meanings for it.
Yeah.
One is getting a lot done.
Yeah.
And so if you're being really effective at work, and the boss might say, boy, you're really pushing 10 today. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that
Well, they have to do a lot of work.
the second meaning was being asked a question and answering you have no opinion on it. So what do you want for dinner? I don't know. I'm pushing 10.
I never heard that
I've
yeah.
never heard the term pushing
Yeah.
10 in
Well,
any capacity in my life.
yeah. To tell you the truth, I can't like even what you're talking about with doing more work. I've heard so many terms. I'm old, and I've heard so many terms over and some country ones and some ones that weren't. A lot of foreign ones and everything else. And I've never heard, or I can't remember it, but prior to this movie, anyone really using that term. But it just seemed to really fit. I mean, there's a lot of 10
It,
on a
you
on a
know,
plane.
it would fit.
Yeah,
Because when I first heard it, I'm thinking, oh, this must be some sort of insider aeronautics
yeah,
lingo. But
yeah,
no, it's not. And that's
yeah.
what annoys, like, it would have been great if I hadn't looked into it.
See, I like the term though. I think it's, yeah, I can understand what you're saying because it actually, I assumed, I actually would have even thought to look it up because I assumed that that was just something that, uh, they use for a term for, and it seems to fit to me. It's like, yeah, they're pushing 10 all day. Um, so yeah,
No,
like I said,
it would have fit great. And
yeah,
again, if you want to keep liking the name, don't look into it.
right, right. Yeah, again, like I said, that doesn't bother me either, just because I think it's an apt term, or certainly a term that I would consider a fitting term. But again, if it's never been used for, that's kind of weird. But yeah, again, like I said, it's I don't know what most people think out there. I think it was fairly well received, but I definitely enjoyed it. I found it funny, in a dark black comedy kind of a way. Um, and there's a little bit of drama too, but to me it
Yeah,
was mostly just funny.
I give it one thumbs up. It's not a bad movie. It's
Yeah,
not a great movie. It's strictly mid
yeah. Well, I'll tell you,
in my estimation.
I'm really curious what you're gonna think now. We're gonna have to do Tin Men. That's a little harder to find these days. I'm sure it's on some streaming service. I own a copy on Blu-ray, but but it's a little harder to find on streaming services. But I'm sure we can find it.
I'm
Uh,
sure we can find it.
yeah, but I don't know. I will give this 2 thumbs up just because it is one I like.
Mhm,
And I'm a Billy Bob Thornton fan. He's cool.
mhm.
He's a cool
But
dude.
like I
He's put
said,
up.
the acting is top notch.
Oh, it really is. It really is. Everybody. Like I hadn't even really associated Kate Blanchett with this particular film. Um, she's so good in this. She's got a smaller role probably, but I think she's great in the movie.
She is.
And she even had to survive that silly little romance thing at the end there, which was, but I think she's great. Angelina Jolie, probably for an earlier role for her, I thought she was great. So yeah, and look at all the people behind you, right there. The
Oh yeah,
supporting cast.
yeah.
They're funny. They're you know
And I mentioned Jake Weber from Dawn of the Dead,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
also have to give a shout out to John Carroll Lynch.
okay,
He was Dr. Freeze. He was
Oh my God, really? Okay.
he was the guy at the start that they were like making bets on.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
also saw him in Fargo.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
I've never seen him in a role I was not impressed by.
Huh. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, he had a really small part in this one. He just had to
Very
come
small.
to the door and then run away. But yeah, again, I think that was part of the whole thing with that. It was that was really to illustrate just how because their jobs were so stressful, they had a real sick, dark humor about everything in their life, including making bets on whether one of their coworkers wasn't going to make it through the day or whatever. So, I mean, there were bets on when Cusack, because he cracked at the scope, and when he came back to work, everybody was betting he was going to fail, and luckily enough, he makes it back. But I'm sure there's a lot of guys in that profession, especially around that time, that probably walked away from their scope and never came back. you
Oh,
know?
I'm
So,
sure. I'm sure. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know anyone that's an air traffic controller,
right.
but it strikes me like it would really attract people that like slow methodological, like stepwise things, because so much of it has to be done by the book and by regulation.
I would love if there's anyone watching who's an air traffic controller, I would love in the comments for you to tell us like what your day-to-day job is like, whether it is slow or whether there's days that are like really, because I do think it's a really stressful job. But how like intense it gets. Maybe you can't say how stressful it is because you can't alarm the public. But if
And,
it's in,
and and let us know if you've ever heard the term pushing 10,
yeah, that's
because
a
that's going
real.
to keep bothering me.
I know. Well, it's not bothering me, but I understand what you're saying, and I really would like to, I'd like to know if um, air traffic controllers have actually used it or whether it's became popular after the movie. Whatever. Like I said, it'd be a nice bit of little trivia right there. So anyone that's out there that's watching this, that's an air traffic controller, please give us your input. That would be really fun. I'm gonna have to make the acquaintance of an air traffic controller now, just so I can get that question answered.
I honestly don't know where my life would cross paths with an air traffic
Yeah,
controller.
yeah. Well, maybe at a bar, you're sitting there and the
I'm sure they
guy's.
need a few drinks after work.
Oh yeah, the guy's deep into some whiskey one night, and he goes, "Geez, I hate my job. What do you do? I'm an air traffic controller."
What airport? Stay away from that
Yeah,
airport.
yeah, really, really. Well, when you think of all the busy airports, SeaTac and Atlanta. I mean, Austin's pretty damn busy. You think of Portland. I'm sure your Portland, Oregon airport. I'm
Man,
sure is
man, I,
busy.
I love our airport. Love
Really?
it. It's one of the most laid back airports I've ever gone through.
Wow, nice, nice. See, I've never flown into. I'm gonna have to make that a goal of mine. I'll have to fly into one of the times that I
Speaking
come
of
to see
movies,
them.
anyone that ever comes to the Portland, Oregon airport, PDX, there's a relatively famous theater called the Hollywood Theater in Portland. It's been around for, I want to say, over 100 years. Recently got restored to its original
Nice, nice.
condition. Well, they have a theater at the airport.
Wow, that's
They have a
cool.
theater at PDX that you can go into for free.
Wow.
It constantly shows short films by local filmmakers on a loop.
I bet it never shows pushing 10.
It will never show pushing 10.
So yeah, but I'll tell you that's cool. That's as a movie lover, I have to highly respect that. So yeah, you know,
Yeah, yeah, we love movies here in Portland, that's for
yeah.
sure.
Well, that's cool because any place that loves movies is good in my book. So yeah, that's awesome. Um,
Hmm.
and I will have to make it a goal, hit Portland Airport at some point.
But we may have said all there is to say about pushing 10.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've come to, I hope everyone enjoyed it. I certainly did. I thought it was a fun talk, and hey, there was some humor just in our conversation tonight. So, but,
It
and
won't be my favorite, but it's not a bad movie.
yeah. Oh, it's like I said, I would definitely recommend it to people. I think you will enjoy it. I think it's something that, you know, if you like dark comedies, I think you'll enjoy it. But
Yeah,
check the
if you
movie
really
out.
like dark humor, watch it with a person that's scared of flying.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, actually, you're not a huge. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of flying these days, but
No,
everything
but it's
about
it's more
flying.
the annoyance of flying than the fear of flying.
Yeah, it is. I
But
used
this
to.
film freaked me out.
Well, believe me, I think there's more going on in the background that it's better that we don't know,
Very true.
as passengers. What annoys me about flying, you're absolutely right, it's the annoyances. Um, they pack everybody in like sardines. I'm not exactly the lightest guy in the world, but even if you're someone that's more of slim body, flying is, the seats are right up on your knees. Unless you're someone that's really tiny, you're not going to like being packed in like they do. And some airlines are worse. But I'm just going to go on a little diatribe of just saying I don't like flying because of the inconvenience of how everything that they've done. And I understand costs are higher, but still, they do everything they can to irritate people that are already irritated. It's just not nice, you know. So that's my big reason for not flying. But after, if you knew somebody in the industry, there's probably a lot of other reasons why you probably don't want to be flying. But which again, if you work in the industry, if you can anonymously comment tell us some of the other reasons why we don't want to be flying. We'll all take the train instead, you know.
Hell, let us interview you.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously, we would welcome
We'll ask about your favorite movies.
exactly. And speaking of which, Dom, next week is going to be your pick.
Yep,
So
I got something picked out.
cool.
Something special.
Well, I'll tell you what, um, just as a movie lover, I've really enjoyed the ones you picked out. Some of them, I know you've said like this one here, you probably wouldn't have visited if you hadn't, been pushed into it by me. But yeah, there's a few that you've recommended that I had never seen and probably wouldn't have known about
I'm
for
sure
a
I'll pick
while.
one you hate.
Well, yeah,
It
at
won't
some
be the
point.
next one.
Yeah, you have so far, I don't know, maybe I have a much more freer attitude, I think, about film, because I like so many, like I like bad films too. But although you haven't picked any that I thought were bad, but anyway, so yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. And everybody out there, please like and subscribe. We hate saying it, but we need it. And you know,
As
get
long as
those.
you watch, I'm happy.
Yeah, if you're watching, if you're viewing, recommend us to other people if you like us. But please, we need the support, and we're having fun with this. We hope you're having fun with it. But, but yeah. So Dom, anything you want to add before we
Nope,
wrap it up?
nope. I think that's it. I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, yep. And hey, folks, we hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll see you next week, and thanks for checking us out and viewing us. So Dom, catch you next week.
Yep.
See you,
Until
man.
then,
All right, bye.
bye.